Hi, this is Shlomo Ben Zaken from Kochav Yaakov. I'm so excited to be part of the Siyum of Meseches Eruvin. This is my first Mesechet I'm actually completing. I've touched several prakim of different Mesechet, but never finished one. So I really appreciate everything that Rav Eli Stefansky and all the chevra behind the scenes have done for all of us. And I hope this contribution of this video will help everyone understand what Eruvin's all about, how we put up Eruvin and how we maintain them. Special thanks to Rav Uriel Sfez, Rav of Kochav Yaakov, and to Rav Yaakov Brandwine, who is the head of the Eruv in Tel Zion, which is an adjoining yeshuv right next to Kochav Yaakov. This is a yeshuv that's actually Tel Zion, Kochav Yaakov. This is a yeshuv that is just north of Yerushalayim, and we're here at the entrance of the yeshuv, which is called, this is called the Shin Gimel over here. You can see that. It's a security gate, and we're going to be speaking to Rav Uriel Sfez, the Rav of the Yeshuv, who will show us how our Eruv is built.
שלום לכולם, אנחנו פה ביישוב כוכב יעקב, בחבל בנימין, צפונית לירושלים. אנחנו זוכים פה ליהנות מהעירוב של היישוב, שהוא מיוחד מאשר העירובים הרגילים שבערים הגדולות. בערים הגדולות יש מסביב צורת הפתח, מה שנקרא בגמרא קנה מכאן וקנה על גביהם, שזה הופך צורת הפתח את הכרמלית לרשות היחיד. יש הרבה פוסקים שאומרים שהיום המקום שלנו, הרחוב שלנו הוא לא כרמלית, אלא רשות הרבים, בגלל שיש לו דרך רחבה 16 אמה. ונראה מדברי השולחן ערוך שברשות הרבים לא מועיל צורת הפתח, צריך ממש חומה. אצלנו ביישוב, מסיבות ביטחוניות, שמו מסביב לכל היישוב גדר אטומה, ועל סמך הגדר אנחנו זוכים לעירוב מהודר. אמנם בכניסה ליישוב יש שער שלפעמים הוא נפתח בשבתות בגלל רכבים של ביטחון או רכבים של הצלה, אבל אנחנו נראה שבאזור השער יש גם צורת הפתח שמכסה גם את הנקודה הזאת. אז אם כן, כאן העירוב שלנו בנוי לא על צורת הפתח, אלא על כעין חומה שלמה. שלום, אנחנו פה נמצאים ליד הגדר שמקיפה את כל היישוב כוכב יעקב ותל ציון. זו גדר ביטחונית. אתם רואים את המנגנון הזה של הצינור השחור עם החיישנים, שאם חלילה הגדר נפרצת, מיד רואים את זה במצלמות של הביטחון. פעם עשינו ניסיון, באמצע הגדר מישהו נשען חזק פה, ומיד זה הזיק את ההבטחה. זה נותן לנו פתרון לשאלה אם העירוב נפגע או לא נפגע. מה שבדרך כלל במקומות אחרים צריך כל שבת, כל יום שישי לעבור לראות שצורת הפתח לא נקראה. בכניסה ליישוב יש לנו שער גדול, שער צהוב, שבשבת הוא סגור. למרות שהוא יותר רחב מ10 אמות, 5 מטר, הוספנו בכניסה צורת הפתח. צורת הפתח זה קנה מכאן וקנה על גביהם. קורה לפעמים שבצורת הפתח החוט לא ממש נמצא מעל העמוד. לכן יש פה יהודי יקר, הרב ויינברג, שהמציא מכשיר עם מראות שהוא רואה בדיוק שהחוט נמצא מעל העמוד. זה דבר שהוא תנאי חיוני מאוד, לפעמים הוא גם מוסיף תוספות כדי לשכלל את העירוב. כמו שאתם רואים פה, שהוא הוסיף פה עמוד שהוא מעל 10 טפחים, שהוא פותר לנו בעיות חתיות כשהזוויות לא מספיק מתאימות. אז כאמור, יש פה, אמנם ביישוב יכול להיות אנשים, אנחנו פה כולנו יראי שמיים, שומרי שבת, אבל אתם יודעים שמי שלא מודה בעירוב, הוא מקלקל את העירוב, כמו שהמשנה אומרת בפרק 6, הדר עם אנוכי, הרי זה אוסר עליו. אם חלילה יש מחלל שבת, או יש גוי שהוא עובד זר והוא שוכר דירה ביישוב, או שהוא שואל דירה, או שיש פה מי שלא מודה בעירוב, הרב המקומי הקודם, הרב בוצ'קו, הלך למנהל האזרחי פה וקנה רשות. מי שלמד עירובין, סימן שצ"ב, ניתן לקנות משר העיר רשות, ששר העיר יכול להיכנס לכל הבתים, לערוך חיפושים, חיפוש משטרתי, ולכן כאשר הרב המקומי קנה מהמנהל האזרחי את הרשות, זאת אומרת, כאן אפשר לפתור את הבעיה של גויים שנמצאים ביחד איתנו. פה אין גויים, אבל אם יש מישהו חלילה לא מודה בעירוב, אז זו השיטה לקנות את הרשות משר העיר. במקום שלנו זה המנהל האזרחי או המפקד החטיבה. שיהיה לנו שבת שלום ונזכה לקיים שמירת שבת בארץ ישראל, אמן כן יהי רצון.
Shalom, my name is Rabbi Yaakov Brandwein. I'm in charge of the Eruv until Siyum. I want to share with you a couple of techniques that I use here in order to hopefully be Mizaki the Rabbim and to teach people a couple things about Eruvin and how we do things practically and how we can make things easier than they actually are being done today. In a lot of Israeli cities, you're going to see that the top of the Eruv looks something like this. This is an old method that was made in order to keep the string on top of the pole, because we know it says in the Gemara on Daf Yud Aleph that Shers Pesach she'amru kana mikana 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 al gabehen, meaning the kana al gabehen, meaning the string that we use practically, needs to be specifically on top of the pole. If you have a string and it's on the side of the pole, then that is a pasal Shers Pesach. In order to keep it on top, so what they used to do is something like this. They put two little nails and they would use two different pieces of metal in order to keep the string in the middle, in order that it doesn't go to the side and doesn't fall off the side of the pole. Now the problem with this old method is the following, that number one, the sides of the pole are sharp, meaning if you want to put on the string, if you want to put a string like this on and then afterwards pull it in order to tighten the string, that the string should be tight and that shouldn't move back and forth in a ruach mitsuya, then you can't pull it that tight without tearing the string and cutting it with this sharp edge. That's one disadvantage. The other disadvantage is, as you see, a lot of times when you do this, one of the nails here gets bent. Now what happens then is that you'll have a string and sometimes it'll climb up the side of the side of the masmer, the side of the nail, and even though it looks like to you that the string is above the pole, it's not, because here we're sticking out. The string actually is not directly 90 degrees above the pole, and that's called a Tzuras Pesach b'natzad. That is a pasal Tzuras Pesach. Also, sometimes the pole itself is a little bit tilted. If the pole itself is a little bit tilted and the string runs up, then it'll take only a couple millimeters, and already the string is on the side of the pole. Everybody thinks the Eruv is kosher, the Eruv is actually pasal. So this is not the best methodology, and this, even though this is being used in a lot of Israeli cities, hopefully slowly we'll get this replaced with something better. So what's being used now, typically, is something that looks more like this. This is called the V. You see why? It's called the V because it doesn't have these disadvantages. Number one, the V is put on top of a cap. This cap is rounded on the edges. That means when the string is put on top, and then you want to pull it tight, and somebody is at the bottom of a 20-foot tall pole, and he's pulling it tight at the bottom, then there's nothing to tear the string, and the string can be pulled as tight as you want. And since this kind of string that we use holds up to 100 kilograms, 200 test string, so you can pull it as hard as you want, and the string will be extremely tight for a good 100 feet or more. and it won't move so much in a ruach mitzuya. So that's what you want. So number one, that's the first thing we do, is we have a rounded edge over here in order to be able to pull the string very tight. The other thing about the V is, as you see clearly, there's no way that the string is going to climb up in any sort of a way that it will leave the boundaries that it has to be in between. It has to be above the pole. Now, the hard part about the V is the following. Everybody who's involved in an Eruv knows that whenever you have to change a string and you're in the middle of the snow or the rain or the hail and it's very, very cold outside, then you have a big problem. This thing that I'm holding in my hand is 20 feet up in the air, at least. And you need to, how we put up the string is we use a telescopic rod. The person who's checking the Eruv, he's standing on the floor. He extends the telescopic rod all the way up to the height of the pole with this string on top of it, and he inserts the string inside of the V. And then from the bottom, he'll pull it tight and he'll tie it on from the bottom. Now, when it's raining on you and you're looking up at the sky and there's snow coming into your eyes and hail falling on you and you can't feel your fingers because your fingers are numb, then you're playing an interesting game, because you have this up 20 feet above your head and you're trying to aim to try to get this string into the V. Of course, you're going to miss it once, you're going to miss it twice, you're going to miss it a third time, and you're getting cold. So I invented something new, which I hope will take off here. Nobody knows about this yet. But what I do is the following. Instead of using a V, what I invented is like this. I take a regular chain that you buy at any kolbo, using a ratechet, a soldering device. You just put the amperage all the way up, you give it one good zap, and you get a hole. You get a hole in the chain falls off. Okay? Afterwards, you solder the piece of chain onto your cap, and this is what you get. Now the advantage of this is that you can do this with your eyes closed. This pole again is really 20 feet up in the air. I'm at the bottom with my telescopic rod. I put the string on the telescopic rod, and even with my eyes closed, I just run the string up. I run the string up along the side of the pole, and it just clicks in by itself. And you let it down, and it takes a second. So even in the rain, sleet, and snow, I'm able to do this very, very quickly. I pull the string tight, it's tight at the bottom, and I really hope people take this idea. It happens to be also cheaper than the V, so I hope people take this idea, and I hope it takes off in Israel very soon. Okay, now how do we tighten the string? To tighten the string, again, like I said, the string is going to go through the V, or through my little new invention, and then it's going to be pulled from the operator at the bottom. Is going to be pulled very hard, as hard as you could possibly pull, until the string is completely tight. Now, where do we tie it on the bottom? Now, there's been a couple of methods also in the past. One of the methods has been to use this. It's called the motchan. They use this for fencing, really, regular fencing. The string is put through the motchan, and with any sort of vice grip, the motchan is turned, and the string is wrapped around until the string is very tight. Now, I'll tell you the truth. This is a little bit expensive, and it doesn't work that well. I'm going to show you what I do, which is much cheaper, much easier, and look how easily it works. Okay, now all you're going to need are two self-impaling screws with two washers. I just dropped one. Okay, and look what you do with it. So very simply, you start drilling in. Now notice you keep it, notice you keep it a little bit loose, and I'll show you why in just a second. Okay, 1 second, I'll do the other one now. Ready, we get the second one in. Make it a little bit loose, make sure it's not all the way in. Okay. Now here, when you're at the bottom of the pole, what you're doing is you're pulling the string as hard as you can backwards, and then you wrap it around, and you do it again and again until you get the string as tight as it could possibly be. Okay, what I'm going to show you now is called the bakbuk. Bakbuk in Hebrew means a bottle, because they used to make these out of soda bottles, and now you can just make it out of anything you want. The idea is like this. We know that the mezuzah, meaning the church of passes, is made out of kan al gabehen. There's another halacha that we know, that we learn in Daf Tes, that the bottom kana and the top kana don't have to touch each other, meaning the kana over here and the kana in the air could be very far from each other, but they have to be perfectly lined up. In other words, if the kana al gabehen is even 1 millimeter this way or that way, and doesn't line up with the kana lamata, then your Eruv is possible, you don't have a tzeres of Pesach. Now, how are you going to measure that? Do not use your eyes. Do not use your eyes. You have to use an instrument. So what we invented is called the bakbuk. The bakbuk works like this. I want you to imagine something. Imagine you're lying down on the ground, and there's a thin chain that's dangling above your eye. And you're looking up at the chain in the sky that's dangling, and all you see is just one dot. You don't see the length of the chain. Now you know you're looking exactly 90 degrees in the air. Why? Because the power of gravity pulls the chain perfectly downwards towards the center of the earth, and therefore the chain is hanging at an exact 90-degree angle. You're lying down on the floor, you're looking up at it, so all you see is a dot. You know you're looking straight through the chain, you're looking straight 90 degrees into the air. So now, we don't want to lie down on the ground, so you could also put a mirror there. You could stand up, you could have put a mirror underneath the chain, and through the mirror look straight up. If in the mirror all you see is one little dot, then you know you're looking through the mirror 90 degrees into the air. Now, if you happen to see an electrical cable above that dot, and it passes straight through the dot, then you know that you are exactly 90 degrees below the electrical cable. So this is what a bakbuk looks like. This is my own homemade one. I did not make this one out of a soda bottle, but I just took a bunch of pieces of wood and a thin piece of tight, thin fishing string, a little chain. This is not real gold. You buy this for 2 shekels at any jewelry store that they sell for your 5-year-old girl necklace, and you just hang it down. And when it's not moving, it's hanging exactly 90 degrees up and down. Through the mirror, if you look into the mirror and you line your eye up in a way that all you see is one exact dot from the bottom of the necklace or the bottom of the chain, then you know you're looking 90 degrees into the air. If you see that the string passes exactly above that dot, then you know that your bakbuk is exactly underneath the string. If you see the string is more to the left or more to the right, more forward, more backwards, then you know that you're not lined up and you know your lechi is not in the right place. The bakbuk shows us, using the chain and the mirror, exactly where the string is, and it'll show us whether or not the string is directly above the lechi or if the string is really slightly to the side. Okay, so we're just out there in the shetach. I'm going to show you what it looks like and what I was seeing through the bakbuk. So the idea is that you're looking through the mirror, and as long as you see only one dot, see that little dot there? That's the chain. And as long as you see only one dot in the chain, then you know you're looking perfectly 90 degrees up. You see the string passes straight through that dot. The string here is passing straight through the dot. Then you know that you are exactly underneath the string. If you would see the string over here, or you'd see the string over here, or the string would be completely nowhere in the picture, then you know you're not below the string. I cannot stress how important it is that you need to have one of these, or make one on your own, or get somebody to make one for you, because a lot of Eruvin have been found puzzled because the lechi on the bottom was not properly lined up with the electrical cable or with the string that was above it, and people were using other ways of trying to measure it, and they were wrong. So again, please, if you're in charge of an Eruv, or you know the person who is, make sure he's using one of these. Chazal teach us that if you have a slope which rises 10 tefachim within daled amos, then that slope is considered a mechitza. Mathematically, that's around 25 degrees, just so you should know. This is a giant protractor, okay? This is exactly daled amos. Here, this is daled amos according to the sheet of the Chaznish. And here we have a peles, here we have levels to let me know when this is straight. When I'm straight over here and we're level, then this is a slope of daled amos and rises to a height of 10 tefachim. According to the sheet of the Chaznish, 25 degrees doesn't matter how you hold because the proportion is the same. Okay, so now practically when you're dealing with a telem mislaki and you're actually measuring the b'shetach, you do not want to rely on this. Why? A telem mislaki changes, nature changes, rain falls, slopes change, rocks fall. There's, you need, you can't rely on something which is exactly 25 degrees, which next year after the winter might turn to 24 degrees and your Eruv is no longer kosher. So therefore there's another reading here, which is 35 degrees from here to here, okay? This shows you a reading of 35 degrees, right? Up until here is 10 tefachim high, 10 tefachim high, rises to a height of 10 tefachim with less than Daled Amos now, because now they're over 35 degrees. That's a little bit more reliable. You're not going to be afraid that that's going to change within one winter. But again, with the Telem Yismakit, you have to use your seichel. You have to figure out what's going to change because tractors decide to dump dirt over a hill, or because of construction, or because of rain. You're going to have to use your common sense whether or not you want to rely on it or not, unless it's very long and very steep, and then you could definitely rely on it without a problem. Sometimes you'll need something a little bit smaller when you measure a Telem Yismakit. This is a smaller 25-degree angle. This is actually Dalet Tefachim long, according to Rav Chaim Noah. There's certain halachic reasons why I want to measure every Dalet Tefachim of the Telem Yismakit. We won't get into that now. But whenever you need to measure something a little bit smaller, then you don't need the giant protractor. Then you could use this and measure your 25 degrees. And once again, don't be mitzamtzein. Don't make it exact. You want it to be not exactly 25 degrees because you can't rely on that. It's going to have to be nicely more. So you have what to rely on from year to year. Okay, so like you see, sometimes the edge of the Eruv and the border of the Eruv is an actual cliff or some sort of slope or mountain, and that's why we use this. And we measure if the angle really is properly 25 degrees or more, and at what point. That's how you measure it. And as long as it's more than 25 degrees, then you know you have a kosher mechitza. If it's less than that, if it's less than 25 degrees, then it's nothing. It's just regular floor, and it's not kosher for the Eruv.